everybody, so it is Damar back with another video for you guys, and today I am just going to tell you guys my testimony as far as my birthing experience that I had with Miss Iris Summer. So I'm just gonna get right into it, and I just need you guys to kind of follow me. I'm gonna do the best I can as far as like timeline and how everything went. But I'm just going to start off by the week before we had her. So we went in for my appointment that Wednesday, and that was when my doctor told me that we could start doing the things like the brew and everything to get her coming, because it was, you know, I was full term, and that was fine to do that. So with that being said, because I was full term, I had my weekly visits. They were every Wednesday to Wednesday. And so she told us, she said at this point, next week, because they thought I was gonna have her over the weekend, and she was like, if you still don't have her by the end of the weekend, then you can come in any day. It didn't have to be Wednesday. So me and DJ were like, okay, well, since it doesn't have to be Wednesday, we're gonna try to go for Monday. You know, the sooner the better. So we ended up making her appointment for that Monday. I think it was for 3:30. And so with that being said, it was just so crazy how everything happened. I went into my appointment. I had my mom and I had DJ with me. And as you guys know, the first thing they do is, you know, they check your weight, they check your blood pressure, all that good stuff. And so as I was stepping onto the scale, the nurse asked me, she said, you know, how's she been moving? And it really wasn't a concern for me, because I wasn't like feeling her not move. It was just she wasn't moving as much. And so I responded and I was like, you know, she really hasn't been moving as much today as she normally does. And so she was like, okay. So she was like, follow me back. And I thought we were going to see the doctor, but she put me on the monitor, and she was like, I'm gonna put you on the monitor for 20 minutes and we're just gonna see how everything goes. And keep in mind that the night before I was having a lot of contractions, and so I knew that Monday I was probably going to give birth to her anyway. So I went on the monitor, and she was like, okay, the 20 minutes had came up. And so she went to the back and she let the doctor look at the screening, or, you know, her heart rate and everything. Y'all, when I tell y'all, the doctor came out, and she came out with a whole nother doctor, another delivery nurse. And the delivery nurse came to me and she looked at me. She said, you go to the hospital immediately. She said, I could call 911. She was like, but they may take too long to get here. She said, I need you to go to the hospital immediately. And y'all, instantly I just like got chills. I was like, oh my God, like, is my baby okay? Like, that was the first thing I had begun to think. And she said, y'all go straight there. You're already checked in. I'm gonna call. You go straight there. So immediately we went straight there. We did not stop anything. We just went straight to the hospital. When I got to the hospital, they checked me in, and so I went into my room. And when the woman put the monitor on my stomach, you could kind of hear her heart beat. It was just really faint. It just sounded off. And instantly my heart just started racing, because you literally could hear her heartbeat go da-da, 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 and then all of a sudden it was just like da-da, da-da, like it had almost stopped. And when I heard that, I immediately, like, my heart just started racing, and I seen the look on the nurse's face, and I instantly seen her just tap the little thing, and she said, you know, get the doctor in here immediately. And so the delivery nurse that was at the hospital on call that night, he came in and he looked at he was monitoring the heart rate, and he also checked my cervix. I had dilated to 4 centimeters and I was at 1.5. So he was like, you know, I'm gonna try my best to let her, you know, come naturally, instead of us having a C-section. But then he was continuing to look at the screen. I could see the look on his face, and he was saying, you know, if her heart rate drops one more time, he said, we're going into emergency C-section. And I just instantly just started crying, y'all. Like, tears just began to fall down my face. And they had to put the oxygen, like, I was just freaking out. So he stood there for maybe not even a minute later, and all of a sudden you could just hear her heart rate go dinner, like it was about to stop. And he said, everybody get prepped, we're going into emergency C-section. And then I just started crying even more. And y'all, I don't even know, like, I have chills right now thinking about it, because it's just like, I cannot explain the feeling of knowing that DJ was not in there with me, and that too, I was going to be put under. I just began to just call on God. Like, that's the only thing I knew how to do. That's the only thing I knew to do, was just ask God to just please protect me. Please just be with me in that surgery. Please be with my baby and let her be okay as well. My mom was actually crying herself. We were all like really upset. And so I got prepped to go back there, and I went back. And I'm not even kidding, like, I told my mom, I said, Mom, I was like, you know, we talk about having faith all day long until it's something that you have to do. And when I tell y'all that, that's the only thing I kept telling myself as I was rolling back there. I was like, God, I have to have faith in you. I have to have faith in you. This is something that I preach on. This is something that I tell people all the time. You can't just pray about something and not have that faith. And I was just like, I have to have faith. Like, I have to know that I'm going to be okay. And it was just, y'all, like, I cannot explain the way that I was feeling. And when I was rolling back there, when I was leaving out the room, I just looked at DJ, and I could just see his face, like the worry on his face, my mom on her face, Miss Jamaica, her face. And I was just like, I'm going to be okay. And I went into the room, and immediately they started to do the heart rate again. You know, they told me get up on the table. I got up on the table and everything. And they were asking me, you know, was I allergic? It just happened so fast. Was I allergic to anything? Like, you know, you're gonna be okay. I got you. Like, the anesthesiologist came in, and he was just like, I got you. Like, you're gonna be fine. You know, as I was just like crying. And so they put the monitor on me again, and I just remember the last thing I remember hearing was, we have to move fast, because I think her heart rate started to drop even more. And so the last thing was, the anesthesiologist, he put the mask on my face, and I started to kind of freak out a little bit, and he was like, okay, well, I'm not going to do it. He said, you just hold it. And so I held it, and then he just kind of put his hands on my mouth, like really, really, really tight. Well, not my mouth, but my throat, really, really, really tight. And that was the last thing I remember. And the next thing was me waking up. When I woke up, I seen that I had my baby girl beside me. But I'm just here to tell you guys that that's not all to the story. This is really the most craziest thing that could have happened. Nobody knew what was going on. And if anybody knows, all my friends and family know that I had the healthiest pregnancy the entire 9 months. I had no issues at all. Not even gestational diabetes, like no high blood pressure, nothing. Like, I had the healthiest pregnancy. And so when we went into my 2 weeks after I had my emergency C-section, the doctor came and he sat down and he talked with me. He said that what happened was I had like a blood clot in the umbilical cord. He said that he's delivered thousands of babies, and he has never in his life seen anything like that. He said that when they took her out and they got the umbilical cord was so dark. It was like swollen. And he said if that blood clot would have burst, she would have bled to death. And he said if we would have waited, y'all, 30 minutes later, she would have not been with us today. She would have not been here. If we would have waited 30 minutes later, y'all. If you go back to the very beginning of what I said, how we were having my Wednesday to Wednesday appointments, and my doctor told me that I could come in any day that next week, and we went in that Monday. Y'all, if I would have waited to that Wednesday like I normally would have, she would have not been here. Because like I said before, it wasn't a concern. I felt her moving, but it wasn't as much. And so it wasn't a concern for me to go in, because I was like, okay, she's fine, because I feel her, but just not as much as I usually have felt her. Y'all, when I tell y'all, and that doctor told me, he said, you must have had somebody looking over you that day. He said it was just luck, but for me, I know it was my God. I know that he was looking down on me, y'all. I know that he's seen me and my baby through that day. And my mom, the whole entire time, she said that she just kept feeling this urge to pray. And she said the urge to pray and to not stop. She prayed the entire time while I was back there. Not only that, but also the anesthesiologist came and talked to me while I was in the hospital. And he said, I have to tell you something. He said, anytime you go into another surgery, he said, you need to tell them that you have a difficult time as far as my mouth opening. Back 2 years ago, my jaw had popped, and it hasn't been the same since. And I have had some issues with like opening my mouth. It doesn't open as wide as it used to. He said that when they put me to sleep, they had the worst time trying to put the tube down my throat. He said they immediately had to go to their best tools because the ones that they had would not work. Like, I guess it was just too wide and my mouth would not open. Y'all, not only did I have a blood clot in the umbilical cord, they couldn't get the tube down my throat. They had the worst issues getting the tube down my throat. He said they pretty much just had to shove it down. And he said that's why, and I was in a lot of pain. He said I was going to be swollen, and I was. Also, with me being at the hospital, a lot of times I guess like they kind of tell the stories of what happened as far as the emergency C-sections. And my nurse had heard about me and my story when she came in there. And she said, you know, like when the babies come out, they have a score as far as like the paleness and how they're breathing and everything. And any score, I think they said like 8 and under, they kind of like look really closely at those babies. Like in some of them, you know, if they don't go up, they go to the NICU. Iris's score was a number 3. Y'all, a number 3. They said she came out so limp, and the nurse told me, she said your baby was really fighting for her life. And y'all, like I could just look at her, and like I'm really trying not to cry, but I could just look at her and just knowing that she was in there struggling, and I had no idea that she was in there struggling like she was. And I didn't know that day was going to bring all that. I didn't know that that was going to happen. I had no idea that I had a blood clot. My doula said she has never in her life heard of anything like that. Y'all, I am here to tell y'all that God is real. He is real, and he protects us. And he was looking down on me that day. If it was not for him, all the credit, all the glory goes to him. If it was not for him that day, maybe I wouldn't be here, and maybe my baby girl wouldn't be here. Because as you guys know, when you go under, there's anything that can happen. There's anything that can happen to you while you are under that medicine. And I asked him, I said, doctor, I said, would this, happen in future pregnancies? And y'all, he said it's almost like being struck with lightning. He said this should never happen again. And as long as he lives, and as much as, babies he's going to deliver from here on out, he said he should never see anything like that again. That's how rare it was. And y'all, the devil is busy. He was trying to get my baby, but I know that she has a purpose to be here. I know that she's meant to be here. And I just had to tell my story because that is my testimony, y'all. That is my testimony that I have to share, that I had to tell. And it was the most scariest day of my life. I remember writing that when I put her picture up. The most scariest experience I have ever had in my life. I was so scared. But all I could do was just trust my God and on his promises, y'all. That's all I could do as I was rolling back there. I'll never forget. But I am so thankful, and I give God all the glory. And I just thank him for everything that he has done for me. And with that being said, y'all, I'm just going to leave you with saying my God is real, and he is still alive today. I hope you guys enjoy this, and peace be with everybody.